Good afternoon, everybody, and as usual, I want to welcome you back to the shop. And once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Today, as you can see behind me with the car that's sitting back here, I'm going to be working on a car that I don't really want to say it's outside of my wheelhouse, but it is a lot newer of a car than what I have been working on lately. But this one, as you can see what I'm holding in my hand, I'm going to be installing a set of electric exhaust cutouts on this car. This is a 2012 SRT Challenger, and this car belongs to a good friend of mine's son. He is in the Marine Corps and he is stationed on the West Coast, and I need to get these exhaust cutouts installed so we can get the car delivered back out to California so he'll have his car. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and come along and let's see if we can get these things put on today. Okay, I got the car lifted up in the air, and as you can see, for the most part, this is a very factory exhaust system. So I want to point out a few things before I get to actually doing a lot of the cutting. But originally, we had planned on putting this style of electric dump in it, and you can kind of see as far as how much room these things take up. Now you can clock this any direction you need, and you can turn this, but as you can see, before these resonator style mufflers, there's not a lot of room and not a lot of good places to put this. Now, I did think about maybe taking these out, and I could have actually put these kind of in here, but I didn't really want to take away from the original sound. I don't know how loud this car would be without these. And once again, this car is going to California, so I don't know if he'd catch a lot of heat from, I don't know, the law enforcement or whatever, but I kind of doubt it. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to alter the stock sound with the exhaust not open with these exhaust dumps. So instead of running this style, we chose to get a set of these ovals. And as you can see, there's a lot more clearance. Now the next thing I do, and I'll kind of show you where I'm planning on putting these things in, but I'll end up shorting this pipe up so you can put this in pretty much anywhere you want. But my plan, and I'm gonna pull the camera up so hopefully we don't get too shaky, but my plan is to put them up in here, up here on this section. For the most part, the passenger side, I'm gonna have to try to put them in right here. And I'm hoping that I can get enough to where I can get it tucked up into this floor cutout area. On the driver's side, I think I can get them right over here without a whole lot of problem. There's not much room here. Now, I can alter this exhaust and shorten this up, and then I would have a lot more room. And I may end up doing that once I get into the actual bulk of the work. But I think for the most part, this one I can put in over here. I've got enough room between it and this frame rail. The difference is over here, I don't have the room because the way they ran all the fuel lines and brake lines and stuff up through here, so it would get really close. I think for the most part, the sound would be the same if I done one here and done one here, but time will tell as I start cutting and fitting these things in to see. And hopefully I don't have to actually cut this down and shorten this up, and it will give me a little more room. But if I do, I do. So anyway, I'm gonna get set up and we'll start making some initial cuts on these, and I'll start marking some stuff out. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I think after studying this exhaust system a little bit, the driver's side, man, I've got 4 or 5 places along through here that it would really look cool I've got one spot right here that it would tuck really, really nice right here, right behind the catalytic converter. And the only drawback is on this side, I'm a little bit shorted once again for room because of this shroud that's covering the brake lines and fuel lines. So I think to get them both to where they're gonna be somewhat symmetrical and even, I think I'm gonna put both of them in right here. Now, this side here, I don't think I would have a whole lot of trouble. I have a pretty good pocket right here in the floor. This one here, it's gonna be a little bit tight. So I think what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna cut this exhaust pipe right here and I'm gonna shorten this up. I see no reason why I can't shorten it up, because even if you ever had to pull the transmission out, it will still clear. Even if more than likely I'll move this direction about 3 inches, and that will give me more than enough room to put them right here on both sides. This side, since I'm moving this one, I might go ahead and do this side as well. I may cut this one and slide it just a little bit. And at the end of the day, I'll have to lengthen the pipe right here, which this is pretty easy to do. So the only hard part, and I may end up installing a set of V-bands here instead of these clamps. So like I said, this is gonna be, time's gonna tell as I start cutting into it. So I think this one's gonna need the most modification. So I think I'll start on this driver's side. Okay, so what I've done, as you saw in the time lapse, is I took this section of exhaust out and I put me some lines on this pipe right here. Now, I did kind of screw up. What I should have done is I should have cut it way up here closer, because my plan, I took about 3.5 inches out, but my plan was to take the section that I cut out of here and just add it to this back here to go back into that tip. But I think I've got some exhaust pipe laying around here, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and kind of get an idea how much I need to lengthen this end, and I'll tack that piece on there and slide that in there, and then I'll come over here and I'll verify my tacks in this spot here. So just a little bit of a, I don't know if you'd call it a hiccup, but it's either way, it's going to work. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this one set up and tack it together, and then if it fits real well, then I'll start cutting this, cutting the flange out for this cutout to fit right here. So stay tuned. Okay, so I improvised just a little bit, and I ended up welding the 2 pieces that I cut, one off each end of this section of pipe. So I just welded these back together. It's a good weld. It penetrated all the way through. So my plan is I'm going to tack this on this end. Now this is the end that, like I said, went into the slip joint going back towards the back of the car. So I'm going to tack this up, and then I'm going to go make sure that this is going to fit. And once I know it's going to fit, I may go ahead and clean this other end and tack this other end together as well. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I got this thing tacked up. I'll pull this thing out and weld it all at the same time. And I also, I was able to get this coped and this shortened up. So now my plan is I'm going to stick this up here and I'm going to mark it. And once I get it marked, I plan on pulling it back out. Now this is about where I want to put it. It looks really good with this indentation in the floor. Now I'm going to have to make a mark on this. Now it does have just a little bit of a downward angle, which I can't help because this pipe tucks in so close to the floor and this flange is so big. So now what I want to do is just kind of run my marker around this. And now keep in mind, I'm going to put a mark right here on this side so it will kind of help me line this up. But keep in mind, now this is stainless steel, this is carbon steel. More than likely what I'll do is I'm just going to end up tacking this, and I might, once I get this tacked, I might cut that hole out afterwards. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to get set up, pull this back out, and then we'll take this all over there to the bench. Okay, I've got this thing, all bolted together, or excuse me, all welded together. And so now for the fun part, I'm gonna try to get this thing fit back up in there. And once I get this thing fit back up in there, I'll bolt it up, and then we'll test fit we'll test fit the electric dump. And hopefully, if all of my measurements were right, this thing should bolt right in, and the electric dump should bolt right into place. So let's see how this goes. Well, I got that sucker bolted back in. So as you can see, I got the exhaust manifold flange bolted up and tight. It was a little bit tight getting it slid back in because this slip collar back here, let me see. This slip collar back here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well, but we'll zoom in on that here in a minute. But this slip collar, this was a little bit tight, which they normally are after they've been used. So if that would have slid in just a little bit easier, it would have facilitated that. So I just have a kind of a rubberized mallet that I massaged it with, but it went back in. I like the fitment, the header, the exhaust cutout. I think if you were to measure it, it's probably not any lower than the front cross member. So I'm pretty pleased with the way it bolted up. And as you can see, it's got some clearance between the floor, and which a nice thing about it is this shield right here is off the floor as well, the floorboard of the car. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Other than shorting myself on that first initial cut, it is dadgum sure in. So that's one side. So I think I'm gonna finish the other side tomorrow. It is getting late and I still have to work my regular day job. So I think I will call it a night and come back tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, today it's a new day and I'm back in the shop to tackle the passenger side of the exhaust cutout on this thing. So another thing, I got me a little bit different welding shirt. The other one was getting a little bit nasty looking. So I'm not a huge Hobart fan, but we'll see. Hopefully the jacket does the trick. So I'm gonna finish getting the car lifted up and I'm gonna do a couple of measurements real quick. Another thing that I did after I got off of filming last night, after I got the driver's side done, I went ahead, lowered the car back down, and I started it up and made sure there was no exhaust leaks, which we are good to go on the driver's side. So like I said, gonna lift the car up, finish up the passenger side, and hopefully we can get some electric ran to these things and we'll give it a test. So see you in just a bit. Okay, the car's back up in the air, and the measurement that I wanted to check on was to see on the passenger side how far the cutout tip was from the actual exhaust pipe. And I wanted to check this pocket on the passenger side, and just like I had to do on the driver's side, I'm going to end up modifying this pipe to mimic what I did over here to make room for the cutout. That way both of them are going to be in the exact same spot. So the only difference is on the passenger side, as you can see, I've got a fairly long length of pipe here, and on the driver's side I ended up moving this radius about 3 inches closer to the to the transmission mount. On this side here, I'm not going to go as much. I may only go 2.5 to 3 inches, but what I'm not going to do is the mistake I made yesterday. I cut in the middle. I'm going to move my first cut closer to here, and then I'll take out this, and then the piece that I remove, I'll be able to put back in up here to lengthen that. So basically it's just cut, make a weld, and put an extension on, and then this piece will fit right back in. Easier than what the one did yesterday. And like I said, you learn from your mistakes, but it was fixed. So anyway, I'm gonna get this piece out of here, and I'll start cutting some stuff up, and hopefully this one won't take that much time, and we'll get it put in. Okay, I got the collector flange welded on, and it's cool enough now to install. And like I said earlier, this side should install a lot better. But one thing, I put some anti-seize on this right here, and if you know anything about anti-seize, especially this silver stuff, just a little bit, you can put a little bit on a Q-tip, and in about 30 minutes you're gonna look like the Tin Man off of Wizard of Oz. And that's exactly what happened to my brand new fancy welding coat. So anyway, I'm gonna stick this thing into place, and once I get it, then we'll bolt this dude up and get everything into place, and then I'll start the wiring. That's it right there. Okay, so that's gonna pretty much wrap up the mechanical side of this install. As you can see, they're both installed. Everything's tightened up, it's ready to go. The next step is gonna be getting the wiring through and doing the electrical side. So I don't really know how much of the electrical I'm going to record, just given the fact that it's gonna be kind of boring. There is a few things that I wanna share with on the switches and how basically you're not going to be able to see it because I've got it hooked to a battery, but they send a switch for each dump, and I'm going to make it to where it only has one switch. But anyway, it's let's see if you can see up in there. I've got them kicked open. Let me grab this camera here and we'll try to do a zoom in on these things so we can see them operate here. So that one's open. There it goes. As you can see, it's tucked up nice. Same way with the driver's side. I've got it open now. Yep, that's what you call the fun button. So I'll finish up the wiring and then we'll see what this thing sounds like. All right, I finally got the wiring completely done. All the cables pulled up into the car. I cheated on this one just a little bit because I used the seat power and I was able to mount the switch underneath the seat. So I'm here right now with the young man's dad that owns the car, my buddy Chris Cronut. And you will see a lot more Chris because he is the paint and body guy that we will be using on a lot of the builds that's coming up in the future. So anyway, we're gonna bust this thing off and I'm gonna have him open the dumps while this thing's running so we can see what it sounds like. Right now, that's pretty stock sounding. Nothing fancy, so go ahead and open them, Chris. Go ahead and throttle it. That ought to get a 20-some-year-old kid in trouble. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap this one up. Like I said before, I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Think. Blank. I actually did go blank. Good grief. At least I can fix my beard.